Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Perry. Who has seen the trailer of my channel knows that I want to turn this garage into a workshop. And my first project is already done, the Workbench. Everybody who has an own workshop or wants to have one needs a table where he or she can work on. That's why this was my first project here. One of the special features of this table is the integrated router. It's, so to speak, a workbench router table. Something like that. What else the workbench can do, what are these holes for, and what does this T-track do, especially how I built this and how you can build this at home. All this I'll show you in this video. Have fun watching! First I started with the frame for the tabletop. It's a 15mm or 0.4 inch beech multiplex wood. I cut 4 pieces with the width of 100mm, which is 4 inches, and another 2 pieces. These will be used as brace for the table. The frame components are cut down to the same size of the table, 120 x 80 centimeters, which is 47.2 x 31.5 inch. I have cut miters into the frame pieces. During this step, you should work as precise as possible so that the ends of the parts fit nicely together when connecting them. Gluing miters together with clamps isn't easy, and if you don't have a strap clamp, like I don't have one, you can fall back to using duct tape. And how that works, I'll show you here. First, the frame components need to be aligned edge on edge. A straight line is important here. In my case, it wasn't that simple as my wall isn't 100% straight. Now the boards need to be taped together with the duct tape. Afterwards, the joints need to be glued and the frame folded together. The 2 open ends will be brought together and also taped with duct tape. The decision for this technique was to have a pretty appearance at the end, because miter corners connect to one nice edge. However, it also has its disadvantages, but we'll get to that later. Unfortunately, here I folded the frame together without the glue, so I had to open it again. Through tightening of the boards with the tape, the glued joints have sufficient pressure. With a carpenter square, I aligned the frame and secured it with the clamps to maintain the right angle. Now the brace for the table. For connecting the brace boards to the frame, I decided to use pocket holes. Of course, I will also glue this. Now, just marking the right spot for attaching the boards, and then they can be screwed together. It is important to repeatedly check and, if needed, adjust the right angles. Now it's time to check if the tabletop fits to the frame. To my surprise, the table edges fit great to the frame. Before screwing the table together with the frame, I drilled some holes. countersink the holes so that the screws don't stick out over the table. The tabletop will only be screwed, not glued, so that it can be exchanged if needed. A while ago, I said that there is also a disadvantage with miters in this project. I will try to explain it with this example. Actually, I also wanted to screw the corners of the tabletop to the frame, but that doesn't work well with miters because the screws pushes the boards apart rather than holding them together. The table legs are made of 70 by 70 millimeters or 2.7 by 2.7 inches Douglas fir. It wasn't my intention to use this type of wood, but the hardware store only had this type in that size. I needed it on stock. Additionally, I cut 4 boards made of 24 millimeters or 0.95 inch spruce wood to stiffen the legs. I again used pocket holes for the connections. The height of the legs are 78 millimeters or 3 inches. And then I probably picked the hardest way to build the legs with the stiffing boards together. Why? Because the legs got out of my control a couple of times. But after all, it worked out in the end. I added some little wooden blocks for stability. Caster wheels are very helpful in my workshop. That way I can roll the workbench into the middle of the room and work on it, and when it's not needed anymore, push it back to the wall. And then I screwed the legs to the table. This is an MDF tabletop. It is 120 centimeters long and 80 centimeters wide, or 47.2 inches long and 31.5 inches wide. For clamping workpieces, I will drill a grid pattern of holes into the table. The grid will be 10 by 10 centimeters, or 4 by 4 inches. After the measurement, to support the drill, I punched in dimple marks at the crossing points with the center punch. I drilled the holes with my router. If you want to do it this way too, then you need to use an appropriate driller. For example, a Euro hinge boring bit. The horsepower should be set to the minimum. The diameter of the holes are 20 millimeters. Next, I will cut a rebate for the T-track. Don't forget to take out the screws before starting. Cutting into MDF creates a lot of dust, and especially fine dust. You should always wear a respirator mask during this kind of work. I set the router insert plate in the middle of the table and drew around the edges with a pencil. On this step, I removed the rest free-handed with my router. So I mean actually without a guide rail. If I mess up here, it won't be that bad, because the middle will be removed later anyways. After this experience, I would rather use a guide rail or even a router frame as support. Now I will saw out the middle where I can let the router in. My router insert plate is from Craig, but I must drill some holes first so that I can mount the router base to the plate. For this, I'll be using the base protector of the router. With tape, the protector doesn't slide around that easily. You should do exact measurements here. If you don't have a drill bench, like I don't have one either, then a straight line on a piece of wood can help you drill straight holes. Just align the drill to the line and press it towards the wood. Countersinking is important because the screws shall not stick out over the plate. Now the router base can be mounted onto the insert plate. I have to oil the tabletop before I can build in the router insert plate. For that, I use the oil from Osmo, which makes the surface more resistant. "20 minutes later, you can remove the rest of the oil. Don't forget to put the cloth on a non-flammable surface to dry. The best will be outside. Why? Because a self-inflammation could take place. Finally, the insert plate can be built into the table. Because safety is important, I also need a safety switch to turn on and off the router. So, the workbench is finished. As it stands here, it is ready to use. A great workbench out of my point of view. What I'm missing here, though, and definitely will add, is a shelf on the bottom and some drawers so that I can store things. I'm totally satisfied though. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I also hope you will try to recreate it at home. And I'm curious to see comments how you liked it. I also have these two tracks and something I want to show you. This is my fence for the router. How it works, and especially how I built it, this and more I will show you in my next coming videos. So, subscribe to my channel and you won't miss it, or miss any other of my videos. And till the next time, bye!